Hey y'all, what's up? It's your girl Alfia. Thank you so much for tuning in to my channel. I want to talk about a movie I just recently watched. I've been watching movies, so I want to discuss some things with you guys. So the name of the movie is My Mother Stole My Life. A woman steals her estranged daughter's identity to escape from an abusive boyfriend. However, when he tracks her down, she finds herself in even more danger. Now, the description is misleading. So we have the cast. The mom comes home. It's her birthday. And her husband won't let her in the house. Now, you're probably like, okay, what you mean he wouldn't let her in the house? He wouldn't let her in the house. A murder takes place in their home. And he sends her away. He takes her phone. And he said, just like, go away and leave your house or whatever. Leave your car. So Susan leaves her car. And she listens to what her husband says, Cliff, and she goes for a walk. And she's walking for a long time. And she ends up in, I think, Massachusetts, if I'm not mistaken. So she ends up in an Airbnb, no, not an Airbnb, like a bed and breakfast. And I think I want to say like a couple hours later, her daughter Natalie shows up, and Natalie actually has not talked to her mom in a while, and she got She got a lot of money from her mother, and we learned that Natalie's dad is not Cliff. Cliff is her stepfather, and Cliff tells her her mom has went out of town, and she went out of town and for her birthday. Because Natalie wanted to surprise her and she wanted to make amends or whatever. So, Natalie doesn't buy it. So, Natalie goes to see her ex, who was Luke. And Luke works at the garage, the place where her stepfather owns. He owns a dealership. And we also learned that Natalie wanted to pay her mom back. And her mom ends up taking out a credit card in Natalie's name, and she takes Natalie's identity because she gets a burner phone, and she calls Cliff the next day. And Cliff was like, you can't call me or whatever, you can't contact me or whatever. Because he told her when he took her cell phone and told her to leave her car, like, don't ever contact me because, you're in danger. Because he said the person that we're in danger with is very dangerous or whatever. So, because she sees the person unalived, she sees the bottom of their feet the day that she tries to go in the home, and Cliff tells her she can't go in the house. Now, mind you this, Natalie is looking for her mother. So Natalie decides to go see one of her cousins. And right away, I was like, this cousin has something to do with it. But, of course, Natalie was like, she's putting all her trust in him, and she's telling him stuff. And he was like, your mom hasn't talked to me in a while. And we learn later in the movie, y'all know I'm going to do spoilers, so yeah, but you definitely need to watch the movie. The movie was worth it. The movie came out last year. We learned that Cliff had got into some money problems, and he needed some help, so he reached out to Natalie's cousin, and he gave him a guide, a guide to help him, basically like a loan shark or whatever, to help him with his business or whatever, and the guy kept getting greedy. So the cousin unalives him. And then you think that Cliff did it. So that was the biggest plot twist in the movie, because I really thought Cliff was. But when I saw that Natalie went to go talk to one of her family members, and he was like, well, your mom doesn't talk to me, whatever. And he was helping her to try to look for her mom or whatever. I was like, this man has something to do with it. You know how you're watching a movie and you can piece together sometimes the bad person and everybody else is not seeing it? Because, okay, look at the red flags. She went to go see him. He was he was adamant, okay, well, I'll help you, whatever. He quick to say it. But even though Cliff was trying to protect her, yes, Cliff brought harm to her mom. And Natalie was like, it was Cliff, he did it or whatever. Even when they went to go track the mom down, this is how they tracked the mom down. It actually, he had fraud alert on the phone or whatever. I think it's kind of like a life lock. But you can't say, I guess you can't say life lock in a movie or certain stuff. Because, like certain stuff, like even when you're watching like certain movies, like if they have the Apple computer, they have it actually covered. So it looks like another computer, but you can tell it's Apple computer. But I guess they can't really I don't know how they do it in certain movies that they don't have or they advertise. Even like when they have an Apple phone, they have them use something else. But the fraud department called Natalie and told her, did you open a card? And she was like, no. And they told her where she was at. She wrote in a piece of paper, and her and her cousin went to go try to find her mom. The cousin was just crooked, and I could tell. And because he actually had went to, wait, hold on. Okay. Yeah, the cousin had actually went to the bed and breakfast, and he had talked to Martha. Martha actually was a good person. She owned a bed and breakfast, and the first night, Miss Natalie's mom was there. Susan, make sure I say her name right. Susan. Susan went to the Airbnb. I'm not the Airbnb. I'm sorry, the bed and breakfast, and Susan didn't have any money. So Martha worked something out with her. Martha knew something was going on. She knew that there was something. You know how you could read body language? Because Susan, it was all over Susan's face. She was distraught because when she was walking, a guy actually pulled over and was asking her for directions. She was like, I don't know, or whatever. It looked like it was creepy at first. So she ended up at the bed and breakfast, and Martha helped her. She got a job at a floral shop. And how her husband was able to track her is because Susan loves lavender flowers. She's a lavender person. And that's how he was able to track her. Because he was like, there's so many places in town. So he ended up finding out because Natalie ends up breaking into her mom's home. Well, because there's a key in the backyard. And she ends up unlocking the door and going inside. And she finds her mom's cell phone. She was like, her mom is missing. And she thinks, because when she went to go meet her mom that day, when she went to go pop up on her mom, she hadn't seen her like a couple years or whatever. And Cliff was like, she's gone or whatever. She went on a trip. And she noticed that Cliff had some blood on his shirt. And she was like, he did something to my mom. And she was telling the cousin. And she was like, he hurt her and she's missing. She tried to go to the police. It was just a mess. The police ended up showing up at Cliff's house or whatever. I believe they did. Yeah, I think they did. It was just a mess. But the movie, in the end, we find out that Susan's cousin is no good, and he was at the bread and breakfast. This is how one of the red flags. They end up going back to the bed and breakfast together after he traveled to Massachusetts with his cousin. And he ends up actually hitting his cousin over the head and knocks her out because he doesn't want his secret coming out or whatever. And they thought it was Cliff or whatever. They end up going back to the bed and breakfast. And Natalie's like, I'm going to make you some breakfast. So, well, I'm going upstairs to take a shower or whatever, unwind. She goes in her room and Cliff covers her mouth. And he was like, shh, or whatever. And she was like, she ends up knocking him over the head with a candlestick. Now, mind you this, Cliff had a gun on him. He didn't even use it. So she told her daughter, Natalie came there, because Natalie was walking past and she saw the bed and breakfast office door open. And she was like, it was open when she first started. So Natalie was paying attention to clues. So she went upstairs, she talked to her mom. And her mom was like, Cliff, he tried to, but she said, I don't think he was trying to hurt me because she said he had a gun. And that's what I was saying too, because we saw so originally we saw when Cliff got the gun from his office. And because Natalie had went to his office, she was talking to Luke about it when she had came that day. And she's like, he's hiding something. And she said, I think he hurt my mom. He came to the office, he got a gun or whatever. Just like when Natalie was with her cousin and they found out the body that we saw in the beginning of the movie when her mom came. And she was like, Cliff, what did you do? And he was like, you can't be here. You got to go away. You can't ever come back or whatever. It was just a mess. The cousin was just crooked. And the cousin introduced him to somebody to help him with the payments on his shop because he owned a car dealership, and they fixed on cars because that's where Natalie's ex-boyfriend Luke worked at. And Luke was trying to help her, but she wasn't really trying to hear him. He was trying to call her, tell her some things. She ended up talking to him or whatever, and he was trying to tell her something, but the phone disconnected. But it was a lot. The movie was really good. It was really, really crazy. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I do highly recommend. I know a lot of people do not like the newer Lifetime movies because they said they don't have like the kick. Some of them, they have some hits and miss with Lifetime. But this one came on, I think Lifetime last year, or LMN, I can't remember. but I know it came on last year. And I had recorded. I just got around to watching it. I'm trying to catch one of my Lifetime movies because, yeah, I took a break and went to my Hallmark movies, and then I was trying to catch up on series. But I'm back. But that Lifetime movie, about her mom stealing your pass, was stealing her name and was using it because she went to the post office. She found out her mom had a post office box in her name, and it was just crazy, y'all. But it was a good movie, and the girl was not even mad her mom stole her identity, just to protect herself. So it says, "My mother stole my life," and I highly recommend. It's on Prime Video for $2.99. I think you can rent or buy it. But definitely check it out. My Mother Stole My Past, and it's worth the watch. For me, it was. I think I said I gave it an 8 out of 10, and I highly recommend. It was good. You could tell the plot was coming, but I really thought Cliff was kind of crooked. But I mean, he was crooked, but he wasn't as bad as her cousin. Can you imagine your own family member setting your husband up or whatever? Because Cliff had a drinking problem, so it was so easy to he actually got help for it, and he was doing much better about it. But he got into a bind with finances, and he told the cousin, and the cousin helped him, introduce him to somebody. And then when the person was asking for too much money, the cousin offed him and Cliff and Susan's house, which was crazy. And then he had Cliff help him bury him. And then it was a lady in the scene that went jogging with her dog when they were walking or whatever. And her dog had went over there and kind of, so she went over there to see what he was digging at. And that's when they found out about the body. And then Luke, the guy that Natalie was dating before she left town, he was like, "That's the guy that used to always be up here." And him and Cliff was always arguing, and she was like, "Yeah, Cliff killed him." Didn't even know it was her own family member that killed him. And she was up there talking to him. She had stayed with him, and then they went to go try to find her mom after they found out about the fraudulent alert. She was like, "This could be my mom. She probably using my identity or whatever to whatchamacallit." And her mom was like, "I'll pay you back she told her she's gonna pay her back." She's like, "No, Mom, I was coming to see you so I can pay you back or whatever." And she was apologizing. They had their little sweet mommy in the end. Cliff gets arrested, and the cousin, they found out about the cousin because the cousin hid Natalie's phone. And I told you, I said he went into office, and because Martha was actually watching everything from her phone. And then she realized, because she saw when Susan, her cousin, and her daughter came in. But she didn't even notice when Cliff came in. Cliff snuck in like a thief in the night because there was a maid that worked there. She was working and she was cleaning or whatever. She was, the housekeeper or whatever. She cleaned the rooms, and she didn't even see when Cliff came in the house, came in, took the key off the little leverage thing or whatever, and the little cart, and he slipped into, he was looking at rooms, and he went into room 5, which is the room that Susan was in, and he realized it was where she was at, and he saw the card where she was working at. And that's when the next scene happened, where Susan told her cousin where to meet her at or whatever she said. And then she said she just knew it was Cliff. But it makes sense. She told him where to meet her at because, okay, her cousin had actually went to the bed and breakfast and told Martha, he was like, "Have you seen this person?" And she was like, no, she hadn't. And I love how Martha had that good poker face. She didn't look like she gave off the body language she knew. So she called where Susan was working at, which was the floral shop. And she told her, she was like, "Hey, your cousin is looking for you." So Susan gets on the phone. She's like, "Can I use your," she told her, asked her about if she could use her phone. So she calls her cousin. She was like, "Well, I'll meet you behind the alley or whatever." And yeah, so he ends up hitting her over the head, and we think it's Cliff because somebody's dressed up in a all black, whatever, has a hood on. So we think it is him. And he doesn't even end up telling her about it. And she was like, "Well, she got spooked or whatever." He doesn't even tell that he went to the bed and breakfast. Because it was 13 places in town. Because when they first made it to the town or whatever, and they went to the post office, and they was trying to get information, the post office was like, "I can't give you a name, whatever, but I can call." The phone was the number that Susan gave to the post office guy. Well, it wasn't a working number. So he was like, "Well, there's only 13 places in town." And she's like, "Oh, it's going to take a while," or whatever. And he was like, "Let's split up," or whatever. And he ends up going to the bed and breakfast. She goes to other places. And he asked Martha, and Martha, of course, tells him she doesn't know who he is because he showed her a picture on the phone, and she was like, she don't know who he is. So she does call Susan at her job, and she tells Susan, and Susan calls her cousin, and it was just a mess. And he told her that Natalie was in town and all kinds of crazy stuff, but he was trying to play up like he wasn't even a part of it. But it was crazy, and the way I'm trying to describe and trying to remember everything in the movie, because you know how you're just trying to tell somebody what's happening in the movie, and then you may, after you done recorded it, you're like, dang, I forgot some important parts. But y'all, it was good to me. 8 out of 10. I highly recommend. Go on Prime Video and definitely rent or buy it. And that's all, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. You don't want to miss any of my updates. And I'll see you soon.